home.
Did you have a conversation with your sister about why she was going back home?
No.
Did the communication with your brother-in-law continue after your sister went back home?
Yes.
Would you say it was more pronounced during the time that she was living at your house, or after she went back to live with him at Salos Gatos? Or if there was a difference?
What is that?
The communication about the marriage problems. Let me rephrase to be more clear. I apologize, Your Honor. The conversations that you had with your brother-in-law, the defendant, about marriage problems, did they continue after your sister moved back to the home on Salos Gatos?
Yes.
Was the defendant contacting you while, similarly about concerns about the marriage, while your sister was living at your house for that 6-week period?
Yes, I would think so.
I think you mentioned before lunch there was sometimes calls about where was she or was she home?
Yes.
Was that happening when she was living at your house?
Yes.
So would you say that those conversations or calls from the defendant asking about your sister, did they increase after she went back to the house in Salos Gatos, or did they decrease? Or stay the same?
I would say it was the same.
Did the defendant ever communicate with you by using your sister's social media?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
There was there was something to do with a for sale quad on Facebook that I had forwarded to Maya, because she had mentioned to me that she wanted her own, because we've been just borrowing Richard's and Chris's this entire time when we go out on trips to the desert. So, but she wanted her own, so I happened to see one for sale on Facebook Market, and I forwarded that to him and to Maya, and during the conversation with Maya, he jumped in that conversation in Maya's account, and there was some back and forth between him and Maya also during on that conversation.
What was the back and forth?
It was like about getting his own account, and that he should not use. I can't remember exactly what was the conversation, but basically she said to get his own account.
Did you know whether or not your brother-in-law had a Facebook or social media account that he communicated on?
Not that I know of.
Did your brother-in-law ever express to you in these phone calls about where he was concerned about the marriage that he was worried about your sister leaving him?
Yes.
Even after she came back after living at your house for 6 weeks?
Yes.
Do you recall an incident in Lake Havasu having a conversation with the defendant?
There was a time when he approached me in regards, and then he mentioned that he had a conversation with Maya at that time, and he said that she admitted to him about her affair.
Do you remember when that was?
It was in the summer. I think it was. I remember it was Milani's birthday. It was in June. maybe like the first beginning of July, during that time.
This is during a family trip to Lake Havasu
Yes,
to celebrate Milani's birthday?
yes.
What was the context of this conversation that you were having with the defendant?
He just approached me and he's like, he admitted, and she supposedly gave him some details on the relationship, on what she had done with the supposedly affair.
What was he asking you a question, or what was the purpose of the conversation with you?
He was just telling me. Hmm.
How long was that conversation?
I couldn't tell you, maybe a few minutes.
Did you engage in the conversation? Did you just listen?
I asked what happened, and then I just kind of listened at that point.
How did the conversation end?
There was he did mention that, like, he wanted to get the other guy.
Did he describe what he meant by that?
No,
What did you take that to mean?
as a he wanted to go after him, maybe.
Did he say anything more specific than that?
No.
In August, do you recall getting some calls from your brother-in-law, the defendant, about May leaving the house?
Yes.
Describe what happened during that incident.
And counsel, give me the year.
Oh, sorry, 2020.
I get a phone call. I received a phone call from Larry, and he sounded like in a panic, saying that to come over and help calm my sister down, because she had threatened to call the police on him.
How long was that conversation?
I can't remember.
What did you do?
We were doing some errands at that time. After we did our errands, we went to the house to.
Do you recall what time of day it was that you got that call?
I don't recall.
Morning, afternoon?
Afternoon.
Did you try to contact your sister, May?
Yes.
How many times?
I can't remember how many times.
How did you try to contact her?
I called. I think I called. Yes, I called her.
Do you know whether or not any of your siblings were contacted by the defendant that same afternoon?
That same afternoon. No.
At some point, did you hear back from your sister,
Yes.
Maya? Was that by a phone call or a text message?
Text messages.
What was, or generally speaking, what was the substance of those text messages? What was her text message response to you?
Why is everybody calling me?
Did you provide a copy of those text messages to law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm going to show you Court's Exhibit 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, 4-6, 4-7, 4-8, 4-9, 4-10, and 4-11. Do you recognize what's shown in those exhibits?
Yes.
What do we see in those exhibits?
Text messages from Maya.
And what is the date of those text messages?
August 12th, 2020.
And are these text messages between you and your sister May?
Yes.
Had you communicated with your sister previous to August 12th by text message?
Yes.
Was this a mode of communication that was somewhat common between
Mhm.
you and your sister?
Yes.
I'll show you what's Courts Exhibit 4-1, projected up there on the screen. Where there's a little orange M to the left. Who is it that is sending that text?
That would be Maya.
So why the hell is everyone calling me? Is Larry convincing you guys again? 5:26 p.m. Does that appear to be the right time and date that you received those text messages from your
Yes.
sister? And then the text message, have you not realized how good he is at manipulating everyone and every situation? 5:27, I'm so tired of his mental and emotional abuse. 5:28, and I keep to myself, but he tells everyone like he's suffering and uses the Bible and God to make sure he controls everything. Were those messages that your sister sent to you?
Yes.
Was it common for your sister to send text messages, that many text messages to you in a row?
No.
Would you say, based on your previous text messages, exchanges with your sister, you had a pretty good sense of her mood during a text exchange?
Yes.
And did you sense, or are you able to, based on your experience and your knowledge and communication with her in the past, was this sort of series of texts from your sister unusual?
It is.
Why?
It's not like her to text in a rapid, continuously. She seemed really upset or angry during that time of the messages.
Looking at 4-2, and you can turn the page of the exhibit that's in front of you. Just to be clear, 4-1 is the same that was projected up on the screen as in the exhibit, Mr. Tabalanza?
I'm sorry.
4-1 in the exhibit in front of you is the same that's projected up on the screen.
Yes.
Looking at 4-2, the next set of messages, did you respond to the messages that your sister sent?
I did.
She sent one more message before you responded. Have you guys not realized that yet at 5:29? And then you said, well, he seems to be the only one talking, and he makes it seem like you're a pretty good liar. What did you mean by that?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
What did you mean by that response? He makes it seem like you're a pretty good liar.
From the way I don't know.
Was there something in specific that Larry had the defendant been talking to you about something?
Yes.
And was there some reason why you said he makes it seem like you're a good liar?
I guess because Larry had mentioned multiple times about the affair, and she was not. She did not mention anything about it, about the affair, or try to I don't know. I guess
Had the defendant said that your sister had been lying to him?
I don't remember.
And then your sister then responds again with 3 different messages. Exactly, I'm tired of it, and he's good at it. He's got you all in his pockets, and I'm alone and isolated, exactly where he wants me to be at 5:31. And those are messages that she sent in response.
Yes.
And then you responded, well, he's begging me to go to your house to calm you down, quote.
Mm-hmm.
What was the defendant, when did the defendant tell you to go to the house to calm her down?
I don't remember.
Well, prior to sending this text, had you had a conversation
Oh,
with the
yes.
defendant?
Yes.
And so when you said, well, he's begging me to go to your house to calm you down, who were you referring to?
Larry.
When did the defendant, Larry, say that to you, to come to the house to calm her down?
Before this, before the text messages.
Looking at 4-3, then there's another 4 messages sent by your sister between 5:32 and 5:35, and you guys know I hate involving others with my problems. I'm not even at home. I just left and parked at a park just to get away. He wants to shame me back into submission because he can't BEC. He can't manipulate me anymore. He wants all of you, including Mama and Papa, to put me back into place. Don't you get it? When she used the word BEC, what did you understand that to mean? Having texted with your sister before.
Because
Did your sister usually type text messages with capital letters?
I don't think so.
And again, was this unusual to get so many text messages from her in a row?
Yes.
And when your sister makes mention, including Mama and Papa, who is she referring to?
Our parents.
Oops. And then you responded, he seems like he's genuinely trying to change.
Mhm.
What did you mean by that?
From our conversation, like he seemed like he wanted to stay with her. We stay in the marriage, and he tried. I don't know. I guess.
Had you talked to your brother-in-law about things that he might be able to do to help repair some of the damage or problems between
Yes.
he and your sister?
Yes.
And did it seem to you like he was trying to make those changes?
At the time, I thought that was, yeah, that's what was happening.
Like, oh, sorry. Yes, sorry, I actually jumped ahead, so I apologize. After that message about Mama and Papa, then actually your next message to her was, well, I'm only concerned about your kids at 5:35 p.m. What did you mean by that?
I was concerned about their kids, how they're gonna grow up with having separated parents.
And your sister's response with kind of 3 different messages after that was, me too, exclamation point. He uses them too. He uses them to make sure he keeps me in my place. It's toxic and mentally abusive. I'm not leaving the house anymore. I'm fighting for my rights now, with 2 exclamation points at 5:36 p.m. That was your sister's response?
Yes.
Was there anything unusual about those responses?
What do you mean?
Well, again, does she commonly use exclamation points and text in that
No.
kind of rapid succession? And then that was when you sent the message, he seems like he's genuinely trying to change.
Mhm.
And then her response after that was, you guys have seen it, you've seen how he works, but you chose to ignore it at 5:38. Looking at 4-5, Courts Exhibit 4-5, her next message to you is, I am all alone in this BEC, he knew how to isolate me at 5:39.
Mhm.
That's a message from your sister?
Yes.
And then your response, I know I'm not completely convinced. What did you mean by that?
I don't remember what was going through my mind at that time.
Was this an unusual exchange to have with your sister?
Yes.
Have you ever had a text message discussion that, well, let me back up. Was your sister commonly open with you about personal problems or private issues between herself and
No.
her in her marriage?
No.
Would you say this would have been an unusually open discussion about problems or concerns she had?
Yes.
Looking at the next two text messages from your sister, 20 years of being like this and years of doing what he does, and he's got you all convinced that he's changed in a couple of months. His mom is good at it, he's good at it, Papa Leo just does what he's told at 5:41 p.m. Who is Papa Leo?
That would be his father,
His being,
Larry's father.
and this is again Courts Exhibit 45, and then your response is, you're not alone in this, make sure your side of the story is heard too. What did you mean by that?
That she can be that we're she can always come for help if she needs to. She always has us.
Us being her siblings, her family?
Yes, her family.
And looking at Courts 4-6, at 5:42, your sister says, how? And then your response is, well, you need to talk to us. What did you mean by that? Why did you send that response?
So that talk to us so that her story, her side of the story is also heard.
Were you at that point, did you feel as though you were getting one side of the story?
Yes,
From who?
from Larry.
And then your sister's response, again, 3 text messages in a row at 5:42 and 5:43. He never lets me be by myself. He checks all my emails, messages, messengers, FB posts. He even checks my Venmo app. And then what? He'll just tighten the reins more. Are these statements that you'd ever heard from your sister?
No.
And then your response was, I told him many times to stop that. Had you had conversations with the defendant about not using her email, checking her messages, the things that she was talking about in the previous text?
Not to that regards, but to other things
Like what?
like like can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
Had you had conversations with your brother-in-law about things that he might stop doing to sort of try to repair his relationship with your sister?
Yes,
Like what?
like stop being insecure, stop maybe just checking up on her all the time because she doesn't like that. She doesn't like to be guess, always being checked on, and
So you had had conversations with your brother-in-law, the defendant, about kind of maybe not checking up on her so much.
yes,
And then her response, it never stopped and it got worse. That's the bottom of courts 4-6. Then looking at 4-7, which starts again with that same message, your response was, well, that's a problem. Why did you think that was a problem if he was not stopping?
yeah, it's I don't know how to explain that. I'm sorry.
Well, had your sister to some degree expressed to you frustration about being checked up on all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Did your sister
That's a
like
yes.
that?
I'm sorry.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Did your sister like to be getting calls from the defendant checking up on her?
No.
And so he's not, she's indicating that it's not getting better. You're indicating that that's a problem.
Yes. Correct.
And then her response then at 5:44, I told him I'm gonna go back to the house. If he comes near me or touch me, I will call the police. I don't care if he loses his job anymore. That was your sister's response at 5:44.
Yes.
And then you sent 2 messages. I already told him it's only gonna get worse if you keep it up. He's making seem like you just wanna leave for another dude. And what was that in reference to?
From the stories she's told me that she was cheating on him.
And just to clear the air here, is it difficult for you to sit here and have to talk about this, about your sister
Yes.
in open court like this?
Yes.
Generally, are you and your family fairly private?
Yes.
The next message then, which starts at the bottom of 4-7 but is complete at the top of Court's Exhibit 4-8, is several messages then from your sister. He told you to calm me down at home and I'm not even there. He knows I'll talk to you guys. He's trying to figure out where I am. See? Jamie? No, he's using that too. Those are all a series of messages your sister sent to you that afternoon.
Yes.
And then the message that starts at the bottom of 4-8, at the top of 4-9, begins, and then the series of messages, those are all from your sister.
Yes.
And she says, there was Eric and now Jamie. Anyone that I had any inkling of friendship, he's used. He's checking my text messages, emails, everything. I worked late hours with both Eric and Jamie for PSP and FMAA. He almost ran over Eric in the parking lot. I've stopped being friends with any guys. Now he's concerned with the guys, David Leonard from my current work, BEC. He called me 3 times, and that's BEC because our supervisor told my team, and it'll continue on the next page, but those are the messages she sent to you that afternoon.
Yes.
And then, did you even have a chance to respond?
No.
And she then sends another series of messages. Now he's concerned with this guy's David Leonard from my current work because he called me 3 times, and that's because our supervisor told my team to introduce themselves. And that's from me working 100 from home now. He blames everyone else and everything else for his actions, and he thinks what he does is perfectly normal. He thinks I'm hormonal, midlife crisis, etc. He even thinks I'm hypnotized. Those are all text messages sent to you that afternoon from your sister.
Yes.
then you respond, yeah, he seems to find other things to blame. And then the next text message is August 21st, 2020. Was that the end of the series of messages with regard to this incident on August 12th?
Yes.
What did you do after you had that text message exchange with your sister?
We went to, it was my wife and I, Genesis. We drove to their house and we met them in the garage, and that's where we talked.
Who did you talk to?
Larry.
What about your sister?
No,
Did you see your sister?
I don't recall.
So who was in the garage?
It was Larry and his dad.
And Genesis was there?
In
also?
Genesis, yes.
What was the conversation?
Just everything about the marriage problems, how she's been wanting to leave, and he had mentioned that they had an argument that time, because Maya had found a cell phone in her car, hidden behind the back seat.
Whose cell phone?
I was told it was Milani's cell phone.
And that the defendant told you they had an argument about that?
Yes,
Did he tell you anything else?
I don't remember.
How long were you there at the house?
Roughly an hour, maybe.
Did you ever see your sister that night?
No.
What was your brother-in-law, the defendant's demeanor? What was his behavior like when you were talking to him in the garage?
He seemed down, I guess.
Was he saying, yeah, you're right, I should just leave the marriage? Or was he still communicating that he wanted to try to work things out with your sister?
Yes, that he was still trying to see if he could work it out.
And what were you giving any advice to him?
I don't remember.
Was his father saying anything to him?
Yes,
What were the things his father was saying?
that he should just leave her, that this is, that she was ungrateful, and that he also had mentioned, his father also had mentioned that if they were to get a divorce, that he wanted Maya to change her last name, because it would be embarrassing to their name, to their family.
Counsel, this is a statement by the father-in-law?
It's for the effect on the listener, because it's a conversation with the defendant. Not for the truth.
All right. I'm not considering it for the truth.
What was Larry's response to the statements that he should just divorce your sister?
He didn't like that response.
Tell us about what his response was.
He just said that that he was all in it.
Let's fast forward now to December 2020. Did you and your siblings communicate on Facebook Messenger about a trip to Big Bear for May's daughter Laura's birthday?
Yes.
January 2021.
Yes.
What was the plan, if you can recall?
The plan was that there was a cabin, a friend of ours that was owned by a friend of ours, that we were gonna go there, or the plan was to go there for the weekend for Lara's birthday.
Were you gonna go to Big Bear for that weekend?
No, we decided to skip it.
Did you go to Glamis the weekend before?
Yes,
When did you go to Glamis?
my wife and I we went on the 1st of January.
And if it would help you better, the calendar is right behind you. So the 1st of January was New Year's Day, and that was a Friday.
Yes,
How long were you in Glamis?
overnight.
And then you left on the 2nd
Yes.
of January? Did you have any
Did you-
observations
Did
of?
you answer?
Oh, I thought you did.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, I apologize.
So-
Did you leave on January the 2nd?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity while you were in Glamis to observe the relationship between your sister and the defendant?
Not so much.
Did you see them interact at all?
No.
Did it seem like they were, did you just not happen to see them in the same place at the same time, or did it appear that they were avoiding each other?
I just happened to not see them at the same place at the same time.
Did you make any observations of the defendant that weekend that you recall being unusual?
There were some, yes.
What was that?
Going for a ride on the Jeep in the dunes. That's,
Did you see this?
yes.
What did you see about it that was unusual to you?
Well, it's he seemed to be like enjoying it, and he wasn't. It almost seemed like he didn't care what would happen to the Jeep, of how and because of how he was driving it.
What do you mean by that?
He's good. He tends to keep his things in a condition like it was always new. So for him to be out joyriding in the Jeep in the desert and hitting the humps and the bumps, and it was unusual.
So slightly uncharacteristic of how he had been in the past when he had been in the desert
Yes,
with the types of equipment that you would use.
yes.
Over the course of that weekend, did you see your sister interact with the kids? Or
Yes.
it's the 24 hours that you were there.
Hmm.
And had you had an opportunity to observe your sister around her children that previous year? All
Yes.
through 2020?
Hmm.
Is that
Yes,
it?
yes. Sorry.
And we've heard about several trips that your family had taken. What can you tell us about your sister and her interaction with her kids?
She's always very involved with her kids.
What kind of relationship did she have with her kids?
A normal mother would have.
Did you see her being affectionate
Yes.
with her kids? Did you see her kids being affectionate with her?
Yes.
Did she, for example, in Glamis, appear to enjoy doing activities with her kids?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they went for. I know I seen them take off and went for a ride after when she was able to drive her Jeep, and they went to the store. They took a drive to the store with her children, with the girls.
So do you recall who was in the Jeep?
I remember her, her daughters, Milani and Lara, and also my daughter, Micah.
After that weekend in Glamis, when is the next time that you spoke to your sister?
I don't remember.
Did you speak to your sister again after that trip?
No.
do you recall if you had any, was there still kind of ongoing messaging on Facebook Messenger between your siblings about the next weekend's trip to Big Bear?
I don't recall.
Because you weren't going, do you think you maybe just sort of, it was just a conversation in the background?
Yes.
But person to person, you didn't speak to your sister again after that trip to Glamis?
No.
Did you have any phone calls with your sister that week prior to January 7th?
No.
Did you talk to your sister on January 7th?
No.
Did you talk to your sister on January 8th?
No.
Have you talked to your sister or heard from her since you saw her in Glamis?
No.
January 8th, did you receive a call that day from your brother?
Yes.
And that, which brother was that?
JP.
As a result of getting that call from your brother, did you do something?
Yes.
What did you do?
I went to their house that evening.
Whose house?
Maya's and Larry's house.
Why did you go there?
We were worried.
Why were you worried?
Because we haven't heard from her, and there was no activity on her messenger, and she wasn't replying back.
What time did you get to the house?
I don't know exactly what time.
Did you go alone or did Genesis go with you?
I went alone.
Was it dark?
Yes.
What happened when you got there?
I walked to the door of their house. I rang the doorbell, and their door has a little window that you can see inside. And then I saw Milani, her daughter, walk down the stairs to answer the door.
What happened next?
I saw that she looked back, and I could hear her. She said, "It's Uncle JR."
Were you still outside?
Yes.
What happened next?
And at that point, she opened the door, and then I walked in, and then I asked her, "Where's your mom?" And then she said, she's been locked in her room for 11 hours now, and she hasn't fed us.
As a result of hearing that, what did you do next?
I don't remember exactly what I did next.
Was there anyone else in the house?
Yes,
Who else was there?
Larry was there,
Where did you first see Larry?
upstairs.
Did you go upstairs? What do you mean when you say you saw him upstairs?
He was standing upstairs.
I'm going to direct you, Your Honor, do you mind if I approach the witness?
You may. Now, no, I'm not going to sustain, well, unless I hear objections, I'm not going to exclude statements.
Showing you 2-19, which I'm not going to project. Do you see in that photograph where does that help you explain where you saw your brother-in-law when you came into the house?
Yes.
Where was he?
Yeah, may I just get to the exhibit 219? 219.
219.
the photographs on that 219 yards, something. I'll just.
Did you have it, Ms. Martinez?
Yeah, I do. I still object based on foundation and relevancy.
Has there been a previous objection?
I didn't think so.
So you're objecting to 2-19. Let's go sidebar. Reporting. Objections overruled. You may continue.
Looking at 2-19, which I'm not projecting, do you see in that photograph where you saw your brother-in-law when he came into the house?
Yes.
Where was he?
At the top of the stairs, just a little towards the right.
And if you were to walk up the stairs that we see in 2-19 and turn to the right.
I'm sorry, to the left, I'm sorry. It was to the left.
What was to the left? He was standing?
He was standing like closer to the left side of the stairs.
And we've had testimony previously that going up the stairs, going to the left, you kind of get to a hallway where you could access the children's rooms. To the right would be to access
The master
bedroom.
Yes.
Is that your recollection of the layout of the house?
Yes.
So if we kind of use the hallway to the kids' room versus to the right would be towards the master bedroom, which direction would he standing? Towards the hallway or towards the master bedroom?
Towards the hallway.
Did he say anything?
Yeah, he just said, what's up? Just got home from work.
And where was, did you see Laura?
No.
Did you see Lazarus?
At that time, no.
Did it look like the defendant was dressed for work?
No.
How was he dressed?
He had beach shorts on. Or shorts.
When you say beach shorts, what do you mean?
It's like one of those swimming shorts, I guess.
And what happened next?
He mentioned that he was giving the kids a bath. And
The kids?
yes,
All of the kids?
I'm not sure.
What happened next?
I asked him if they were going to Big Bear. If they were still going to Big Bear.
Who did you ask?
Larry,
And what happened? What did he say?
he said, no, I don't know. I think I'm disinvited.
Had you tried to call your sister that day?
Yes,
Did she answer?
no.
Did what happened when you tried to call her?
It went straight to voicemail.
Was that unusual?
For that time, I think so, yes.
What do you mean for that time?
Well, I've called her and it's gone through voicemail. In the past.
Was it one of those situations where it rang and then it went to voicemail, or it went straight to voicemail?
It went straight to voicemail.
And was that usual for it to go straight to voicemail?
No.
Did you try to call the defendant?
Yes,
How many times did you try to call the defendant?
I don't remember.
Counsel, can you be a little bit more specific as to the time frame?
On January 8th, did you try to call the defendant?
Yes,
Do you know how many times?
I don't remember.
More than once?
Yes,
Did you,
What time did you start calling him on that day?
I don't remember, Your Honor.
Morning, afternoon?
Afternoon?
were you able to get a hold of him?
No,
Did, what happened when you tried to call the defendant's phone?
it went straight to voicemail.
Did you try to call either Lara or Milani?
No,
Did they have cell phones at the time?
from what I remember, yes.
Did you have the numbers?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Did you ask whether or not your daughter had their numbers?
Yes,
And did your daughter have either Laura or Milani's phone number?
yes,
And did you ask for your daughter to try calling either of her cousins?
yes,
And did she?
she did.
What happened?
It went straight to voicemail.
do you recall when you asked your daughter to try to call her cousins?
When I got home from work, I remember, I just got home from work.
Was that before or after you went over to the house?
It was before.
Did you tell your brother-in-law that you had been trying to reach him?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said my phone's been dead all day. And he walked into the kitchen to grab his phone. Towards the kitchen. I'm not sure if he went to the kitchen to grab it, but
So you had said that he was at the top of the stairs. At some point, did he come down the stairs?
yes.
How soon after you got there did he come down the stairs?
Mm, maybe a couple of minutes. A few minutes.
Yeah, then you mentioned that he retrieved his phone from the kitchen. You were inside the house at this point?
Just in the front door.
Did you follow him?
No,
Where were you when he went to the kitchen?
I was standing by the door,
But you could see him in the kitchen?
going towards the kitchen, yes.
And did you see him actually pick up his phone?
No,
Did you ask, well, what did you do next then, once he got his phone?
um, I saw him turn on his phone, and then he mentioned that JP has been calling him too, and I don't remember.
What did you see when he turned, did you see him actually turn on his phone?
Yes,
Was it attached to a charger?
at that time, no. When he was holding it, no.
And he had just said it had been dead all day.
Yes,
Were you able to see the face of his phone when he turned it on?
yes.
And was there anything that you noticed about his phone?
I mean, it lit up. It was on. It turned on.
Did you notice whether or not he had any missed calls or text messages?
I could not. He just mentioned that JP had he had received a missed call from JP.
Did your brother-in-law say anything else to you?
I don't remember.
Did you commonly communicate with your brother-in-law, the defendant, by phone at that time?
Yeah.
Was there ever a time when you couldn't reach him for an extended period of time
No.
prior to January 8th?
No.
Did you ask, well, let me back up. You were there, what was your purpose for being at the house?
To check on Maya.
So what did you do to check on your sister?
I went there, and then I asked, during our conversation, I asked if I could go upstairs to knock on the door to see if she's there.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I walk up the stairs. At this point, Larry was still downstairs, and I walked to the master bedroom door, and I knocked a few times, and I called out her name, but there was no response. I looked at the bottom of the door where if there was any light from the inside of the room, and it seemed dark, and it seemed like nobody was in there.
Did you knock on the door?
Yes,
Did you say anything?
I said Maya. Every time I would knock, I called out her name.
Did you receive any answer?
No,
Any response?
No.
Did you hear anything from inside the bedroom?
No.
Did you see any evidence of light
Hmm.
underneath the door?
No.
Did you hear even any rustling, any movement inside the bedroom?
No.
What did you do next?
I went back downstairs.
You had mentioned that the defendant said he thought he had been disinvited from Big Bear. Did you ask him about that?
Yes, I said, why, what happened? I asked him what happened, and then he said that we had a big fight last night. Because
Go ahead.
Larry threatened to call the wife of the guy,
What guy?
supposedly the guy that she was having an affair with.
Did he say anything else about what the fight was about?
No.
Do you recall any reference to threats about her job?
Oh yes.
What was that?
He mentioned that he threatened to open up her investigation about the job investigation against her. I don't know exactly what that was.
But that was something he told you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry, she takes down every word we say, so
Sorry.
the court reporter there. You had said that he said he had been at work all day. Did you ask him any more about where he had been that day?
No, but after some conversation we had, he mentioned that there was a point where he mentioned that Lazarus had been eating French fries all day because he was with him or something.
Did he say any, did the defendant say anything more about that?
No,
When you say he was with him, did
He
he
was-
say where he was?
no, he just said he was with him all day
And did he say where Lazarus was eating fries?
in the car. Oh no, he did not say. I'm sorry.
Was that unusual to you? Why does that stick out to you that he said he was with Lazarus eating French fries?
Well, prior to that, he mentioned that he was at work. He just got home from work. I'm sorry.
Did you know whether or not it was common for the defendant to take Lazarus with him to work?
No.
So what was it about that that I guess struck you as unusual?
That he was with. That I'm sorry.
Let me rephrase it. You had said, at one point he said he was at work, and then he said he had been with Lazarus eating French fries.
Mm-hmm.
What was it about that caused you to remember that so distinctly?
Well, because he said he was at work, and then after he said that he was with Lazarus. But I don't think I'm not sure if he went to work with Lazarus.
Can you ask about the work, where he worked? That'll kind of help me fill out the picture.
Yes. Do you know where your brother-in-law, the defendant, worked at that time?
At the Navy Hospital
Where?
in San Diego.
Do you know where it is?
I don't know exactly where it is.
It's Balboa Hospital?
It's in Balboa Hospital. I'm sorry.
And do you know what he does? Or was
Um,
doing at that time for a living?
I just know he was making glasses. He makes glasses.
Did he work in an office?
I don't know.
But he worked at the Navy Hospital.
Yes.
testimony subsequent to
More than a preview.
that? Um, How long would you say you were at the house on the 8th?
Can't remember exactly. Maybe 30, 45 minutes.
After being at the bedroom door, knocking, did you ask if you could get into the bedroom?
I did not.
Did you try to open the bedroom door?
I checked if it was locked.
And was it?
Yes.
Did you ask your brother-in-law if there was a way to get in?
No.
Any reason why you didn't ask?
I just felt like it wasn't my place.
Why not?
I didn't want to be intrusive, or just I wanted to be respectful.
So what did you do?
I walked back downstairs,
And what happened next?
and we had some conversation about cryptocurrencies, how he had just sold some of his bitcoins, and then he was upset because a week later the price was up, and then there was some conversation when he had mentioned about explaining to me how sometimes when you're just by he explained to me about something about domestic violence, like you can't even like punch a wall or hit a wall right next to a person that could be considered like a domestic abuse or something, or verbal abuse. He also was saying something about that.
And how did you take that?
I just didn't know what to say. I was like, well, it's kind of weird.
Was that in response to any question that you had?
I don't remember if it was a question. No.
And tell us, describe, did he do anything to show you what he meant, or was he just describing it?
He was just describing it.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. He did hit the wall, like right next to my head, and he said, "Yeah, you can't even do this. You're not allowed. You can't. You know."
where were you standing at the time?
I was still by the front door, leaning kind of against the wall.
So I don't know if 2-5, I'm gonna put up on the screen there, is that entryway area, were you that close to the front door? Were you further into the house?
No, I was close to the front door, like to where the bench is, to the left.
So you're standing by the bench, and where was the defendant?
In front of me.
In
Like-
front of you, like, where in relation to the front door? In other words, were you back to the front door? Were you facing the front door?
Back to the front door.
And your brother-in-law was facing you?
Yes.
Okay. And so do you see the wall in that entryway that he hit with his hand?
Yes.
If we're looking at the photograph, would it be on the left or the right?
The left.
Do you recall what hand he used to hit the wall?
I don't recall.
How close to your head did the hand?
He was close. He was probably just a few inches.
For the record, could you show me again with your hand? So the witness put his hand just up with his fingers towards the sky, towards the ceiling, and about 3 inches, 2 inches from his head?
From what?
2 inches from his head, his hand? I'm asking for everybody's agreement on that.
Sure.
You may have had a better perspective.
Seems about 2 to 3 inches. That's how close it was to your head.
Yes, Your Honor.
Going up was open hand, close fist.
Was it open hand or closed fist?
Open hand.
And describe how his hand hit the wall.
like a slap on the wall.
Can you
Like,
show us by using,
yeah, he's like, you can't even do this.
so, open hand, you just, sitting at the witness stand, use your open hand to hit the panel to your right there at the witness stand. I don't know how to describe the sound. The sound, I guess, will have to speak for itself, but with a fairly loud, significant amount of force that it made a noise.
Yes,
And that is a physical demonstration of what you witnessed.
correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And it was in that context that the defendant hit the wall that he said something to the effect of, explain that again?
Like, you can't even, you can't even do this, or you're not. Yes, you can't even do this.
You can't even do this, or what?
Or it's considered domestic abuse.
Did you respond to that?
I just said, really? Yeah, like, and what, kind of like a question.
Was there any more discussion about that?
He also mentioned about like mental abuse, like shouting and yelling. That could be considered like a domestic violence as well.
Did he say anything else?
Not that I can remember.
When you were up at the door, knocking and seeing if saying your sister's name, where was the defendant at that time?
Downstairs?
Did he come up and try to knock on the door with you?
No.
Did he did he appear to be watching you? Was he within your view at all?
Yes.
What was he doing?
He was just standing
Upstairs or downstairs?
downstairs.
Did he offer to help?
No.
What was his demeanor like?
I don't know how to explain it.
Did he seem concerned?
I couldn't tell.
Did he seem worried?
I couldn't tell.
Thinking back about your phone
When you say
conversation.
you couldn't tell, do you mean you don't remember, or you weren't able to gauge it?
I wasn't able to gauge it.
When you think back about your phone conversation with him on August 12th, when your sister had left the house, was his tone of voice similar to how it was on August 12th?
No.
How was it different?
It was more calm, I guess.
When you were knocking on the door to your sister's room, did you notice anything, any damage to the door?
Yes, I did.
What did you notice?
There was a patch by the door handle.
Could you tell if it was new or not? In other words, whether or not the patch was wet or...
I did not touch it. I could not tell if it was new.
Did you see anything that looked like your sister had been packing for Big Bear?
There were 3 luggages by the downstairs by the right by the stairs.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Courts Exhibit 5-1. And if you can just turn to that in the binder under tab 5. I'm going to ask you if you recognize what's circled in red there at the bottom left-hand corner.
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The luggages?
And is that the same luggage that you saw when you went to the house?
Yes.
While you were downstairs, did you notice anything unusual happening upstairs as you were talking to Larry?
Yes, I noticed their daughter, Milani, while Larry and I were talking downstairs, I could see her running across the hall towards the bedroom door and basically kicking the door pretty hard. The master bedroom door.
How many times did she kick the door?
A few times.
How much force would you say was she using when she kicked the door?
It seems it was quite a lot. It's almost like the door would kind of flex back.
Do you know whether or not your niece takes any kind of martial arts?
Yes,
What does she take?
she was taking some mixed martial arts and I think karate, if I'm not mistaken.
Did you see the way she was kicking the door?
Yes,
Could you describe it?
like she would run across the hall and basically jump and kick the door.
Could you hear it downstairs?
Yes.
Was Milani saying anything?
No.
Where were you? Were you still at the same place that you had showed us earlier, where Larry had hit the wall?
Yes.
How many times would you say Milani kicked the door?
I'm not sure exactly how many times.
More than once?
More than once.
More than twice?
Yes.
More than 5 times?
I don't think so. I don't think it was more than 5.
Did the door open?
No.
Did anyone come to the door?
No.
Did Milani indicate that she heard anything inside the bedroom?
No.
Did Milani ever say why she was doing that?
No.
Did the defendant react at all or say anything to Milani while she was kicking the door?
I don't remember.
What did you do next? Actually, before I ask you that, let me ask you to look at 2-20, which is up on the screen. Do you recognize this to be a photograph kind of looking down the landing from the direction of your sister's bedroom?
Yes.
And so, can you describe using this photo where Milani was when she was running across to kick the door?
Just before the steps going down.
So if you come up the stairs, do you have to take another couple of stairs to get to the landing that would then lead to the walkway towards your sister's room?
If I remember it, yes.
I'm sorry, I was talking, I didn't hear you.
If I remember correctly, yes.
Well, there's a red bucket there, let's use that as a reference.
Was she where the red bucket was?
No.
If you were walking towards your sister's bedroom from the red bucket, do you have to go up a step or two?
Yes.
And so was Milani up the steps?
Yes.
But would you say she was closer to the steps or closer to the bedroom door?
I would say closer to the step.
And would she walk to kick the door?
No, she ran. Yes.
You said you could hear it from where you were downstairs.
Hmm. I could see it, yes.
What happened next? Anything else significant before you left the house that you can recall?
I can't remember.
When you drove away, which way did you drive?
I decided to go the other way, where I usually go, and pulling out from the driveway to the stop sign, I made a left instead of a right to see behind the house where I could see the master bedroom.
gonna show you what's been marked as 26-1, which is kind of an overview. Does this appear to be an accurate overview of where your sister's house is
Yes.
located in Chula Vista?
Yes.
And if we kind of zoom in a bit, did you, let me back up. As you drove out of that, drove away from her house, if you're looking out the front door of the house, did you drive to the right or to the left?
To the left.
Do you know what street that is? Does Calle La Quinta sound familiar?
Yes. Yes.
You drove towards Calle La Quinta, which
Can you spell that?
Callequinta. When you got to that T intersection, then did you turn right or did you turn left?
I turned left.
Why?
I wanted to see the back of the house where I could see the master bedroom windows.
Why?
To check to see if there was any kind of indication that somebody was in there.
Could you see anything?
No,
What did you see?
just a dark room. There was no lights.
Did you go back to the house on January 9th?
Yes.
Why?
Just to see, just to check up on her again.
When you got home, well, actually, when you left the house, did you communicate with your siblings?
I called my brother, JP.
At that point, had anybody heard from your sister?
I don't think so.
And then, did you sleep that night?
No.
You
Why?
said, did he sleep that night?
Was he able to sleep that night? Did you go home and go to sleep that night?
I don't remember if I had. I can't remember.
You can't remember what,
That if I slept that night or
but you went home.
I did go home. Yes.
You just don't remember if you were able to sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the next day, did you communicate with your siblings?
Yes.
And then, what time did you go back to the house on Sale Los Gatos?
I don't remember exactly what time.
Did you go inside the house?
Yes.
Do you remember noticing anything unusual about the refrigerators?
Yes. The when I
Let's actually take a break. Take a 15-minute recess. This new area. And we'll resume. We're gonna take a 15-minute recess. Witness is on the stand. You may continue with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Tabalanza, you had mentioned that you went to the house on January the 9th, 2021, and you noticed some things about kind of the state of the kitchen. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So when I walked into the kitchen, I noticed that they have two fridges, and then both fridges were pulled out of their place. Like it almost seems like it was there was some cleaning going on, or in the middle of a cleaning.
Did you notice that when you were there on January the 8th, 2021?
No, I did not go to the kitchen.
So it's, just to clarify then, it's not that it wasn't in the same state on January the 8th, is it that you did not actually go into the kitchen and have an opportunity to observe the way the kitchen looked
Yes.
on January the 8th?
Yes.
And I'm a little bit confused if they were missing or just pulled out a few feet away from the wall. So, can you inquire?
Mr. Tabalanza, what do you mean when you say that the refrigerators were pulled out?
They were pulled out away from the wall.
Were they still present in the kitchen?
Yes.
How far were they pulled out from the wall?
I'd say a few feet.
I want to back up to New Year's, the weekend before. Did you observe your brother-in-law, the defendant, to be, did he have any firearms that weekend?
Yes.
And what did you see with regard to firearm that weekend?
I think I remember him shooting it.
What kind of gun, do you recall?
It was a Glock.
You do or you don't remember him shooting?
I remember him shooting it,
Where was he shooting it?
like just towards the sand dunes.
How far away was he from you? Or was he close to the camp?
Yes.
How far away?
Maybe 10 yards
10 yards from the camp?
from the camp. Yeah.
And in what direction was he shooting the gun?
Away from the camp, towards the dunes.
Did he say anything about why he was doing that?
No. Don't remember.
Did you have conversations over the course of your relationship with the defendant about firearms?
Yes.
And was that, were firearms of particular interest to the defendant?
Yes.
What about your sister?
No.
Now, after your sister, you couldn't locate your sister, you learned that the police had been called. The police became involved in the investigation.
Yes.
Prior to your sister's disappearance, did your children have a relationship with their cousins, Lara, Milani, and Lazarus?
Yes. Yeah.
And after your sister's disappearance, did, at some point after that, did the defendant's position regarding your children all being together change?
Yes.
How so?
By not allowing us to see them anymore.
Do your children have a relationship with their, are they able, well, up until, for the backup, strike my question. The months after, I guess towards the end of January 2021, until the end of the year, were your children allowed to see their cousins, Larry, the defendant's children?
Objection release.
You're asking after the alleged Flint state, that's correct?
I am.
Well, I really don't see the relevance of
prior to January the 7th, 2021, what was the longest you'd say you've gone without speaking to your sister, May? Having some kind of communication?
Some kind of communication, not long, maybe a few days. There's always something. There's always, I consider a Facebook post some type of communication. So there's always something.
And you were friends with your sister on Facebook?
Yes.
And since January the 7th, 2021, have you had any kind of phone call from your sister?
You mean after?
Correct. Since January 7th, 2021, have you had any kind of phone conversation with your sister?
No.
Have you had any kind of text conversation or any communication via text from your sister?
No.
Have you seen her since prior to January 7th, 2021?
No.
Have you seen any Facebook posts of your sister?
You said prior, do you mean after? Can you have her read back the very last question?
Question, have you seen her since prior to January 7th, 2021?
It's a poorly worded question. Let me rephrase that. Since January 7th, 2021, have you seen your sister?
No.
Your sister May?
Yes.
No,
Sorry.
you have not seen your sister
I have
May.
not seen her.
And have you seen any posts on Facebook by your sister May
Mm.
since January 7th,
No.
2021? Any communication at all from your sister since January 7th, 2021?
No.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Dabalanza, you spoke about a trip that you took in the past where you describe how Mr. Millete would call your sister every stop that you had to take. Did that only happen one time, only one trip?
That one trip, yes.
And no other trips?
That was the only time.
Okay. And at that time, during that travel, was Miss Milete's children in the vehicle with her?
Yes.
And did you notice, were you driving?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that Miss Millete was sitting next to you?
Yes.
Did you see Laura and May call their father as well? Or talk to their father as well during that occasion?
I don't remember.
When you testified every stop, did you mean you had to stop to go to a restaurant or to go to the restroom? Or what did you mean by stop?
I had scheduled a few stops on the way to. One of that stop was at a restaurant. We went to an In-N-Out to get food.
And how long did you stay there?
Just until we got our food. Maybe 30 minutes.
2 hours?
No, like maybe about 30 minutes. 2.5.
And when Mr. Millete would call your sister, May, how long would that last?
Several minutes.
And you heard her talking back to Mr. Millete, right? Did you hear her call him Mahal as usual?
I'm sorry.
Your Honor,
Whatever you said, you need to start off.
let me clarify that a little bit, Your Honor. In your relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Millete, how did they call each other?
They called each other Mahal.
Can you translate that in English? Are you able to do that?
From my understanding, it means love.
Okay,
Does
can
it
you
mean
spell
love?
Can you spell it for us? How do
The
you spell
word.
it? Yes,
Your Honor.
Mahal.
Mahal, it spells Mahal.
Hey,
And it means love in your local dialect in the Philippines?
In Tagalog, that's how I understand it. Yes.
Okay. And does it mean an expression of caring and love when you call your spouse or children with that word, using that word?
Yes.
Okay. When Miss Millete was on the phone with Mr. Millete, did you hear your sister use the word Mahal?
I don't remember.
And you were listening in the conversation, right?
I was not listening.
You mentioned that you heard
I
what was
heard.
going on, and you heard what was the gist of the conversation that you can recall?
I just remember him saying "What the hell" every time. Like she would. I could hear that. That was the only distinct.
Was Miss Millete agitated or upset that Mr. Millete has been calling her, or what was your general impression about those phone calls?
She seemed
that's-
irritated.
That's compounded.
Okay.
Do you want to know about her demeanor or the other part of your question? So, rephrase.
Did you hear Miss Millete tell Mr. Millete to stop calling her?
I don't remember her saying that.
Did Miss Millete try to allow Lara May and Milani to also talk to their father?
Not that I can recall.
Now, based on the communication that was shown to you on the board, where Miss Millete was saying that her husband was manipulative. During these 20 years of knowing Mr. Millete, did you observe that in the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Larry Millete?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Millete mistreating Mrs. Millete by hitting her or punching her?
No.
Did you see them doing things together and enjoying it?
Objection Vegas to time.
Sustained.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me clarify that, Joanna. There was an occasion where Mrs. Millete moved out of the house, and moved in with you and your family, did you know that Mrs. Millete was going to move out of the house before she actually moved in with you?
Yes.
Was the primary purpose of their separation based on the alleged extramarital affair that Mrs. Millete was being accused by her husband?
Objection lacks foundation.
Sustained.
At the time before Miss Millete moved in with your family, did you understand the nature or the reason why Miss Millete was separating from her husband?
Yes.
Could you tell us that, please?
She didn't want anything to do with him anymore.
Do you know why she did not want to have anything to do with him anymore?
She's, I guess, because of those reasons on the text messages. All the mental abuse.
Was it in those text messages you mentioned about Mr. Millete was alleging that Miss Millete was lying to her, correct?
I'm sorry?
Lying to Mr. Millete? Do you recall that text message?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, well let me see what exhibit number is that. Okay.
I think you're referring to 4-2, counsel.
20-2, yeah. Oh, that's good. You stated, well, he seems to be the only one taking, and he making it seem like you're a pretty good lawyer. Why did you say that to Miss Millete?
Because he was the only one that was talking about the affair and not her.
Okay, so in your mind, Mr. Millete was very truthful to you about the affair.
At that time, yes.
Yes. And you believe Miss Millete was not truthful about the affair.
No, that's not what I meant.
Well, you knew where Mr. Millete was working at the Naval Balboa Hospital, right?
I'm sorry?
You knew where Mr. Millete was working at the Naval Balboa Hospital?
Yes.
And you knew about the investigation that went on regarding your sister's affair with a coworker, right?
Just through Larry's, from what Larry's had been telling me.
Okay, so what was your understanding about that investigation regarding your sister's affair with a coworker?
Okay, counsel, what is,
I'm sorry, Jen.
we're going to go sidebar, and you can tell me what the relevance of this line of question. Report. court's relevancy objection is sustained. Next question.
Thank you, Yana. As far as you can tell, during the trip that you took to Glamis for the, I believe, Thanksgiving trip, the relationship between Mr. Millete and Mrs. Millete was still acceptable or normal?
Is
Question vague.
the,
Acceptable.
Do you understand the question?
no, I don't understand.
Sustained, vague.
You had an opportunity to observe the behavior of Mr. and Mrs. Millete during your trip to Glamis, Thanksgiving 2020. Is that true? That you observed them both?
Yes.
And could you describe that relationship? Was it strained? Was it cold shoulder? Or was it growling, fighting?
I would say cold shoulders, not a lot of communication. That was from what I noticed.
Did they talk to each other at that time?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
So you were in Glamis only for how many days?
For Thanksgiving?
So how many days were you at Glamis?
For Thanksgiving, I think we were there for 2 days.
Okay. And you did have a picnic, correct?
A picnic?
Did you have a picnic together or you ate together?
Yes.
And Mr. Millete and Mrs. Millete were not talking to each other those entire 2 days.
I don't remember.
Did anybody question Sir and Mrs. Millete at that time about the silence or treatment or
No.
how- no? Okay. No one was bothered by it?
We didn't want to get involved. I guess. I don't know.
Were your parents with you at that time?
No.
You're aware, well, let me strike that. Mr. Millete contacted you at the beginning of 2020, correct?
Yes.
And he was seeking for your help.
Yes.
And you did help him or no?
I tried. I gave him some advice on personal things that me and my wife did to, overcome situations like that. So yes, I tried to help him.
So that was about January 2020, right?
I can't remember if it was January. I know it was in the beginning of 2020.
Did you understand that in January or thereabouts at the beginning of 2020 that the relationship between the two of them was still repairable?
I thought. That was my thinking, yes.
Okay. And at that time, there was no allegations of extramarital affairs, correct?
No.
And then, can you tell whether at that time when he was seeking for your help, did he specifically tell you what kind of help he needed from you?
He had told me that Maya was going to leave him, and he asked me if I could maybe help him to convince her not to.
And your response to that?
I
Was what?
said, I remember, I don't know exactly what I told him at that time, but I was willing to help him, yes.
So Mr. Millete was asking for your help. Did he say, convince your sister not to separate from me?
Um, yes. Try to convince her to stay.
And you did. And you did convince your sister to stay with Mr. Millete.
I talked to her about it.
Okay, so what did you tell her?
What did I tell her?
Yes, to encourage her to stay.
I don't remember exactly.
Did you ask Miss Millete what caused her to desire separation from Mr. Millete?
No, I did not ask.
So you did not have a clear understanding of what the problem was, right?
I'm sorry.
You did not have a clear understanding why Mrs. Millete wanted to separate from Mr. Millete.
Vegas to time,
Uh,
objection.
I think we're talking about January 2020.
Okay,
And I'm going to allow maybe one or two more questions and then we'll move on.
okay.
So you can answer. Maybe ask the question.
In January 2020, or approximately thereabouts, did you really have a clear understanding of what the problem was between these two, Mr. and Mrs. Millete?
Not
As
at
to
the time.
why, what reason did the wife want to separate from the husband?
No, not at that time.
Okay. And did you ask your sister?
No, I did not.
So since you didn't understand the nature of the problem, you would not be able to help them. Is that correct?
Objection, it states testimony.
Sustain. Move on.
Nevertheless, you said you attempted to help them.
Yes.
So you spoke to your sister. Did you tell your sister how the problem could be fixed?
I don't remember.
Did you believe at that time that you were talking to the two of them that separation was a good idea?
It's not
Or
about
no?
that.
Okay, well, he's trying to give advice, Your Honor, so
I'm sorry, can you
I,
repeat?
well, no, I'm not allowing that question.
Okay.
You're going to move on.
okay, Your Honor. Your sister moved in with you on Mother's Day. Do you remember that?
I don't know. I don't remember if it was Mother's Day.
And she did not spend Mother's Day with her children in May 2020.
I don't remember.
And do you remember if the Millete family or the Tabalanza family celebrated May's birthday, which is what, May 1st?
Of 2020?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes, you remember, or yes, they did?
Yes, they celebrated it.
can you tell us where you celebrated Miss May Milete's birthday?
Well, I was not there with them, but it was a few of our friends, and I think my sister was there, and also my wife.
How about their children, Miss Milete's children?
I don't remember.
How about your mom and dad?
No.
Okay. Did Mr. Millete ever give you a firearm?
No.
Did Mr. Millete ever give you other siblings firearm?
No.
Did you ever go shooting or target shooting with Mr. Millete?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
What's the relevance?
Well, you said that Mr. Millete was shooting?
I'm asking
I'm sorry,
you,
yeah.
what is the relevance of that question?
You know, Mr. Millete has a missing firearm, and I believe that he remembers giving it to one of the Tabalanza family.
I don't know why we had any
Oh.
evidence about firearms, other than the one that's charged in count 2. Other people may open the door slightly by asking about the shooting into the dune, but I'm not going to go into other incidents involving firearms.
All right, can I ask a question about that shooting incident that,
If you covered it, you can ask
Okay.
questions on those.
how long was Mr. Millete using his firearm on that, was it Thanksgiving trip at Glamis that you testified earlier about?
I think it was New Year's. Or thing. I can't remember. Was it New Year's?
New Year's. So, what, you earlier answered questions about the New Year's Eve outing and inquiring into the dunes. So, that's the time period.
What was the question?
You testified about Mr. Millete shooting during one of your trips. Is that right?
Yes.
And was that during the Thanksgiving trip or the trip that you had in Glamis for the New Year?
New Year's? I think it was New Year's.
Okay. And how many guns did he have with him?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Was he riding in the jeep with the gun?
I don't know.
Okay. When Miss Millete was residing with you in May of 2020 until June of 2020, was there an incident that caused Miss Millete to move out of your house?
I just know that she, when she moved out, she was with Larry at that time, and to come to pick up her things.
Do you have an understanding why Miss Millete was going back with Mr. Millete?
No, not at that time.
Did you ask your sister?
No,
Did you ask Mr. Millete?
no, don't remember.
And you believe that Miss Millete was safe to go back with her husband
At that time,
at that time, yes. Did you, after that return to Mr. Millete's house, did you follow through with your sister as to how the relationship was progressing?
not really.
Okay. Have you heard any other negative news from anyone regarding their relationship, whether it's flourishing or degenerating, or negative news about their relationship?
From other people?
But it's conquer hearsay.
Okay, just, you were not concerned about any danger to your sister when she returned back to her house in Paseo Los Gatos, correct?
No, I was not.
And in fact, you respected Mr. Millete, right?
Objection
Yes.
relevant.
Oh.
Yes.
And when, before the complaints in 2020 related to Mr. Milete's marriage, were they happy together
Objection calls for
Yeah.
speculation.
during 2019?
Hold on. Sustained his phrase.
Did you observe a change of behavior between Mr. and Mrs. Milete in 2019?
No.
Describe that relationship in 2019.
It seemed like normal.
When you say normal, what is the meaning of that?
They're together. Um, they attend, our gatherings and things like that.
And in 2019, was Mr. Milete calling Mrs. Milete that you know about?
No.
When Miss Milete was residing with you and your wife and your family, was she into drinking alcohol?
What do you mean?
Was she drinking alcohol or no? Or not?
Objection relevance.
I think I know what you're getting at, and you kind of explored this change in lifestyle.
Right.
But I'm going to sustain the objection.
That's okay, Your Honor, if you think he doesn't know.
No, the important thing is I
Okay,
sustain
did-
the objection.
Did Mrs. Milete have dinner with your family during those dates, May and June of 2020?
Yes.
Objection relevance.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay.
What was the question? What was your question?
I'm going to rephrase, Your Honor. To your knowledge, did your sister drink alcohol during the time that she was residing with you, whether on her own or in your residence?
All right, I'm
Objection.
sustaining the objection for
Oh.
relevance, and I told you in
Okay,
that regard.
so did she go out at night with friends?
Objection relevance.
Over.
From what?
And I take it, this is during the period where she was staying with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so when she was staying with you, was she going out at all hours?
I didn't notice. She was going out with friends. She never told me.
Did you work at night in your employment?
No.
Your wife, was she at home at the time that Miss Milete was residing with you?
Yes.
Okay, counsel, I've heard enough about this.
All right.
Staying in May of 2020 when she was at the house.
Well,
Why don't you go to some of the other areas that was covered on direct examination, or if you have another area that you want to inquire about, but I have
Well-
heard more than enough about the month that she was there.
okay. Well, you testified earlier, Mr. Tabalanza, that your sister was very private
To me, at least. Yes.
to you. And what do you mean by private?
She doesn't like to talk about things. Personal things. With me.
And so she didn't want to discuss with you any of her personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
So she wouldn't discuss her activities outside the home. She didn't want to discuss about her personal relationships. Is that correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, she told you she did not want to involve anyone with her problems.
Correct.
When you're were you surprised when Miss Millete moved back with her husband in
Objection.
June of 2020?
You know, I've already told you,
Okay.
I've heard enough regarding that.
Did Miss Millete express to you that they were reconciling and not separating anymore when she moved out of the house?
No.
You talked about co-parenting earlier. Did that change as well?
Objection vague.
Do you understand the question?
I don't understand the question.
Sustained.
You testified about what Maya or Miss Millete wanted as far as her children, and she expressed to you that she would like to co-parent her children with Mr. Millete. And now that she moved out of the your residence, did she express to you a difference in scheduling with her children?
No.
Does that mean that she still just wants to co-parent and be separated from Mr. Millete?
Calls for speculation.
You and Mr. Millete had a good relationship. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And he expressed to you how much he loves your sister.
Yes.
Did you believe that?
At that
Objection
time.
relevance.
Overall.
Now let me go to this area where you testified about Mr. Millete saying to you that he wants to get the other guy. Remember that?
Yes.
What was going on? What was being discussed prior to him saying that to you?
That he had a conversation with Maya, and that she admitted to him about the alleged affair.
Anything else?
And that he wanted to get the guy.
What did you understand that for Mr. Millete to go and talk to the guy?
I'm sorry.
Did you understand that Mr. Millete wanted to call the guy and talk to him?
That's not how I understood it.
So what did you understand that to be?
I understood it as going to inflict, I don't know, some kind of violence toward the guy.
Like what, for example?
I'm not.
Do you know? All ask your question again. See.
After he told you that, did you tell your sister about what he said to you?
No.
Any reason why?
I'm sorry.
Relevance. It's not.
Okay. So he told you that. In the days forward, did you ask him again about that statement?
No.
Did you find out who the guy was?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Did you ask him who the guy was so you could tell the guy or warn the guy?
I did not ask.
So was it your belief that he was not going to inflict something very serious or life-threatening to that guy?
Objection
Is that true?
relevant.
Sustained.
How did you feel about that statement days following the days that he told you? You were not concerned about him doing any violence towards the guy, or you just left it and didn't care? Or?
Relevance, and it's ask and answer.
So after your sister moved back with Larry, Mr. Millete, did you go and visit them? Besides the trip that you made to their house on January the 8th?
I don't remember. Yes, we've gone back to the house. Yes.
Was there a celebration in their house?
They, that's determined.
Okay. At the same time frame after Miss Millete returned to her family in Paseo Los Gatos and prior to her disappearance, did you have an occasion to visit them?
He said yes to that.
Okay.
You asked him if he went to the house for a celebration, and I know at least in that or birthday party, so you need to narrow it down as to when he may have gone after she returned in June.
Now, you knew that Miss Millete was attending therapy sessions at that time. Is that
Objection
true or
relevant.
not?
Foundation. Relevance.
Sustained on both fronts.
Did you advise your sister to seek help from medical providers?
No.
Did you advise your sister to seek advice from the church?
No.
When you visited your sister after she returned to her house, did you observe any signs and symptoms of domestic violence against your sister?
No, I did not.
When you went in to the house on January the 8th looking for your sister, and you observed that there was no light underneath the door, why did you not ask Mr. Millete to open the door for you?
I didn't want to intrude.
You testified that you knocked on the door and you called out her name. if she was using the restroom, would you still see the light underneath the doorstep? At the time that you called and knocked on the door?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Did you try the doorknob to open it and see if it was locked or not?
Yes.
Did you recall telling a police officer from the Chula Vista Department that you did not even try the knob or try to open it and see if it's locked?
I don't recall.
Now, let me ask you some questions about the time you went to Miss Milete's house on January the 8th, 2021. You arrived about 6 o'clock p.m.?
I don't know exactly if it was at 6.
And the primary purpose of your visit was to check on Miss Milete, your
Yes.
sister? Before you left to go to Miss Milete's house, you spoke with your brother JP, right?
Yes.
And it was your brother JP who urged you to go and check on your sister.
Yes. He told me to go. Yes.
And did you have other communications from your other siblings prior to your visit to Miss Milete's house on January the 8th, 2021?
I don't remember.
When you saw Mr. Milete inside the house after you entered the front door, you said that he was wearing shorts, I believe?
From what I remember, yes.
Is it beach shorts, or can you describe the shorts?
I think it was a red shorts. Red.
And did he have any shirt on the top?
I don't remember.
And was he wet from just giving Lazarus and the other children baths?
I didn't notice.
'Cause you mentioned that he stayed, he just got home.
Yeah.
Was it obvious that his attire didn't look like he just came from the hospital?
No.
And how does he normally look when have you seen him when he's working at the hospital? What attire he was supposed to be wearing?
I don't think I've seen him in his work attire.
And he is working at the optical shop at the Balboa Hospital. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And that shorts are not allowed in the hospital to be working in the optical shop, right?
I don't know.
When you entered the house, you said he was upstairs, right?
Yes.
Looking down at you,
Yes.
and he didn't appear nervous, and he didn't appear like he didn't want you to come in, right?
From upstairs, I couldn't tell.
Okay. And while you were discussing with him a cryptocurrency, I believe you said,
Yes.
that you were both really very interested in firearms. So describe his demeanor during that time.
During that time,
Yes, that you were discussing about your common interests, crypto, I believe, and firearms.
hmm
Can you describe his demeanor?
Well, yeah, when we were talking about cryptocurrencies and how he had sold some of his bitcoins, he did seem I don't know, little, I don't know, kind of upset that he sold it sooner, because the following week it was, the price of Bitcoin went up, I guess. Yeah.
And he looked upset. How can you tell? Was he saying something that revealed that he was upset?
Yeah, I guess she's like, yeah, man, I should have, I should have waited or something like that. But yeah,
And what about the firearms? What were you discussing the firearms with him?
I don't remember discussing firearms with him at that time.
While you were discussing the cryptocurrency, did you still have your sister in mind, or you both were relaxed and just having this good conversation about cryptocurrency?
I was still thinking about my sister, yes.
Did you tell him that?
Not at that time. I don't remember telling him.
And you had planned to drive around and take a look at the backyard of your sister's house. Why is it that you didn't tell Mr. Millete about that? That you plan on taking further look or further, view of whether there was light inside the master's bedroom or not?
Why didn't
Objection made.
I understand the question. You can answer. You understand. Is there a reason why you didn't tell him that you were going to check on your way home to see if there was a light emanating from the main bedroom?
No, I decided to do that after I had left.
And you testified that you went around and looked at their house and you saw the master's bedroom. Did you have a good view of the master's bedroom at that time?
Yes,
You were still inside your car, right?
I was still inside my car, yes.
Did you park your car and exit it and really take a look around the backyard, or
No, I drove really slow.
how long did you look at the bedroom?
Not more than a minute.
When you saw that it was still dark, is there any reason why you did not decide to go back and talk to Mr. Millete?
No, I don't know.
So it was JP who had requested for you to investigate or check, like you said, check on Maya. Did you call your brother and give him what you saw? Or
Yes,
what did you tell JP?
Upon hearsay.
Okay. Did you tell him that you're not worried that she's not there?
That's still.
Or she didn't answer?
It's still hearsay.
Oh, no. So, did you sleep good that night?
I don't think I did.
So what did you do the following morning? Did you go to Mr. Milete's house again the following morning, which is Saturday? The night.
It wasn't in the morning.
So is there any reason why you waited to come back and check on your sister?
We had asked because we had asked our dad to go and check on her
And where was your dad residing at that time?
in Marin Valley.
So how many hours before your dad could get to Miss Milete's house to check on her?
I'm not sure exactly how many hours. It's an hour,
Couple hours.
maybe an hour. Yeah, a couple hours.
Did you call Mr. Millete in the morning of that Saturday to ask him if Miss Millete had, you know,
No, I don't remember calling him.
you don't remember calling him?
No.
Did you call your father at what time on Saturday?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I called him.
But you spoke to your father though personally, right? You spoke to your father personally to come and check on Maya that Saturday.
It wasn't me. No, it was not me that spoke to my father to check on Maya.
Who did call your father? Who called your father?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained. Well, it's hearsay, but it's not relevance. Sustained.
What time did your father arrive at the Millete residence?
Do you know?
I
Were
don't-
there?
I was not there.
Okay. Alright. Lack of foundation.
You don't know what time they arrived, right?
I don't know.
So when you arrived at the Millete residence on January 9, 2021, was your father and mother there?
No, they had already left.
So they arrived and left.
Yes.
Did your brother JP go to the Millete residence on that day, January 9, 2021?
No.
When you arrived at the Millete residence in January 9, 2021, who was in the house?
It was Larry and the kids.
Did you see Larry's auntie and uncle in the house?
No.
Okay. So when you arrived, it was only you, Larry, and the two children.
What is that?
Objection, yes,
Counsel? Next question.
You mentioned about the refrigerator being pulled off of the wall. Do you recall that?
Yes.
There were two refrigerators, you said, right?
Yes.
And they were pulled how many feet or yards away from the wall that they were originally installed?
I'd say a few feet.
Is 2 feet?
2, 3 feet maybe.
And both refrigerators were in that position, being pulled out of their original
Yes.
installment.
Alright.
And
Let me clear something out for myself. Did this require did it appear as if it was damaging the cabinetry by pulling off the refrigerators?
I'm sorry, I don't understand, Your Honor.
Were the fridges embedded in cabinets, or was it simply just pulled away from a wall without causing any type of physical damage?
Yeah, just pull away from the wall.
you didn't see any damage to the kitchen when you arrived there, right? On January 9, 2021.
I didn't notice anything damaged.
But did it concern you that those refrigerators were not in place?
I wouldn't say it was a concern, it was more just weird.
So you didn't give it any meaning that would alert you that something bad happened in that house?
Can you repeat the question?
Was there anything, when you arrived there, did you immediately go upstairs in the bedroom to check on your sister?
No,
Why is that?
because that time we were told that she was not there anymore.
So you didn't go upstairs on, they told you she's not in the house.
Mhm.
Who told you that?
I'll allow it for the effect on the listener, even if it isn't.
I remember, I think it was Larry that told us that.
Okay. And you believed him, right?
At that time, yes.
And you asked him where your sister was?
Yes, I asked.
And the response from Mr. Millete?
He said, I don't know, maybe she went for a hike.
And that was about, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening?
I think it was earlier than that.
3 in the afternoon?
Yeah, maybe, yes. Maybe just a little after 1. I can't remember exactly.
So when your father and your mother arrived at Mr. Milete's house, then left, did you, during all the time that they were inside the Milete's house, did they call you to tell you that Miss Millete was not there?
Objection relevance.
Calling for hearsay. Sustained. Both.
How long did you stay in the Millete residence on January the 9th, 2021?
I think almost midnight.
Were you there when the officers from the Chula Vista Police Department arrived?
No, I was not.
So you arrived about 3 p.m. approximately?
Roughly.
So from 3 to 12 midnight, correct? You were there in the residence.
Roughly, yeah, midnight. I'm not sure if it was midnight.
So that's about roughly
Late
9
night.
hours?
3, 2. Yes.
So during the 9 hours, you were there with Mr. Millete and the 3 kids only?
No.
So who else arrived at the house while you were there during that 9 hours?
My wife was there, and my sister Mary Grace and Richard.
What time did they arrive?
Objection vague and relevant.
Sustained relevance.
So your wife arrived,
No, we came together.
you came together.
Yes.
Okay. And then your sister Jane arrived.
Merry Christmas.
Mary Grace arrived. What time did Miss?
Counsel, I don't see the relevance
Okay.
behind when these
All
other
right.
individuals arrived. I've heard from another witness that when they were there.
Okay. Let me
and
just.
By all accounts, she's not there in the home at this time. So
Let me
it's
just.
not relevant when other people got there. She wasn't completely there.
Okay, Anna, I think that's all. Thank you.
Any questions on the
No, you're on.
midwitness witness be excused?
Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. That completes your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Monday's a holiday, right? Okay. Court's in recess. And we will resume on Tuesday, January 17th at 9 a.m. The defendant is ordered back at the hotel. Is there anything else we need to?
No, Your Honor, I just wanted to make sure that we could have our witness here Tuesday morning who requires the interpreter.
Okay. The parties have agreed, well, you can call your next witness at this point, so if we have our interpreter scheduled and here, then that's what we're going to do.
Yes.
It's my understanding that the interpreter is only going to be available for the morning.
Yes, so I apologize, Your Honor, that's why I wanted to just speak with the family before we broke to make sure that he was available that morning. But yes, he will be here and he will be my first witness.
You'll have 3 hours.
That should be plenty.
We'll see. All right, the court's in recess. We'll resume Tuesday, 9 a.m. Have a
Thank you
nice
for having
weekend.
me, Ben.